how did the last presidential election work with less people voting in Trump, but him winning the presidency?
So every state has its own number of electoral votes, right? So one of the reasons the Electoral College is it does not work is that one person could win. I think it's a minimum of 11 states. So if they won this particular number of states that represented this particular number, then you would that person could win the presidency, only winning essentially 1/5 of the
Right.
geographical area of the country. Now you need 270 votes to win out of 380 something. But once you hit that 270 mark, then you've won the presidency.
Right.
So what happened is, I think we were expecting on the left, we were expecting that Hillary was going to sweep and do great, and that's what all the polling said. And there were a few states where I think it was three or four states where the vote came within 1%. So this gets to the question as well of does your vote count? So even in the smallest state you're in, you never know what's going to happen. So your vote will make a difference. Your vote, even like I grew up in Massachusetts, so we voted blue all the time. But then once in a while we'd end up with a Republican governor or a Republican legislator. And I don't remember this. I remember stories of this when Nixon won, I believe. He won every state except for Massachusetts, and there were bumper stickers that said, "Don't blame me, I'm from Massachusetts." So this was that's how it happened. It happened that Hillary just didn't get, she won the popular vote. She won 3 million more votes than Trump won, but she did not get that magic number of 270.
So my next question kind of follows with that and would be, what is the likelihood of that happening again?
It can absolutely happen. It's something we should always be afraid of. It's something we should always think of. We know that there are people working against us internationally. We know that there is interference with our elections. That's proven. That's a fact. What is not a problem is voter fraud. That's another thing that I think is really important to say, despite the fact that this administration keeps harping on this. It doesn't exist. And these ideas of people harvesting ballots and putting them in cars, it's fake. They're made up stories. They're doctored
just scare
videos,
tactics.
Whatever. It's all scare tactics. So the thing that's important to know is that A, your vote counts. B, voter fraud doesn't exist. And finally, that your vote is important. And I think it's important that we know that this could absolutely happen again. I think it's less likely to happen again because but again, it's happened twice in the past 20 years.
Right.
And I certainly don't want to see it happen again. So get your ass to the polls.
Yes. Okay. So the next one is, will my vote matter as much if I don't live in a swing state?
Yes. It matters. It matters just as much. Every vote counts. Yes, it sucks that the Electoral College exists in a way that makes it so that if you live in California, your vote counts less for president. But the really important thing to know is that yes, you have a vote for president, you have a vote for senator, congresspeople. You also, in pretty much every locality in the country, you're not just voting for president, you're not just voting for the people who represent you in Washington, D.C. You're voting for your mayors, your city councils, for your dog catchers, for your school committees, and important ballot races all the way up and down your ballot that are questions that really affect your everyday life. A lot more than who lives in the White House. Some of the decisions that are made locally that have nothing to do with the president is school funding, is whether or not police wear body cameras, is what happens with your roads and bridges in your cities and towns. Those aren't decisions that are made by the president or the senator of Congress. They are made by the people that you're voting for on November 3rd. So make sure you do extra extra work to do that research. You're voting for judges. Do research, look at the questions that are on your ballots, go to your city elections, your county elections page, and do some research, figure out what's important to you, and look up the candidates, look up the questions, and come to your own conclusions. Just make sure you educate yourself before you walk into the voting booth or before you sign your ballot and send it in.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So what happens if there happens to be a tie?
Well, if there is a tie, then it goes up to if it's that, I don't think it's gonna happen. It would be rare to happen.
Yeah.
But I believe that ends up going to Congress.
Okay.
To make that decision. Am I wrong about that?
I can Google it. I have my computer up. I don't know.
I feel like I knew this at one
today.
point. I know I knew this at one point, and I know Emily is on here, and she'll call me out. I mean, obviously the scarier thing for me is that it's going to end up going to the Supreme Court,
right.
And that's I think more likely than there being a tie,
right.
Tie in Electoral College votes. So there's actually a great website too that I'll refer you to called 270 to Win that tells you everything you could possibly want to know about the Electoral College.
Yeah.